one.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? This is Click Gaming's weekly podcast. We actually missed last week, but we're back again. We didn't have power.
Yeah, it was 48 degrees in my house for 2 days. It was cold.
You might say it's a little icy chiller in there.
Yeah, freaking icy,
Look at
dude.
that pun. Weak pun.
But so we didn't have power for 5 days or so. But we're back. This is podcast number 7, I believe. Is that right, Chance?
I hope so, because that's what the number I put on it.
So
So if it's not, it's 7.
welcome to podcast number 7. We're going to talk about Johnny's going to be involved in a Halo tournament, LAN, called BeachLAN down in Tampa. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to transition into why we think, or just a discussion on like LAN centers and are they going to be successful or not. Not a bash on LAN centers, but just to talk about the different aspects of
our evaluation.
Yeah, of why either LAN centers will do great or do bad. Nice cat, Johnny. But anyways, Johnny, why don't you tell us a little bit about what BeachLAN is and where it's located and
okay. So this is actually how it is.
Yeah.
So this is actually year of BeachLAN. It's actually a bunch of former Halo 1 pros and semi-pros that just get together. So these are the guys that have only grinded Halo 1 since it came out. And that was in 2001. They have not played Halo 2. They have not played Xbox Live. It's always Xbox Connect. And some of them have switched to MCC on the computer because it has Halo 1 on there, but that's just because they want more practice. But besides that, it's just been Halo 1. And so there's between 40 to 70 guys that literally go to Tampa, and then we go down to Indian Rocks inside of a giant beach house. And it is a week-long tournament grind, LAN fest, and the tournaments are always on the ending Saturday and Sunday. And so that's honestly about it. So they just go out there, have fun, get sand between your cheeks. I know it's funny is last time we were there, a tornado in Tampa happened. It was just wind. I laughed, but they called it a tornado. I'm like, no.
So basically it's a bunch of Halo guys getting together and having a blast. And it's live on Twitch, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, the Twitch never goes down. It is live 24/7. I mean, there will be you'll see the intermission screen saying, hey, this is what's coming back up. And then sometimes there'll be guys playing in the night that'll get on there and they'll cast. So it's just a bunch of guys having fun playing Halo 1. And they play on old school TVs, like the old school boob tubes and old school Xboxes that are modified for the Halo 1 professional settings.
Oh, okay. Awesome. We're excited that you're involved with that and have a lot of fun.
You said old school. They play on CRTs?
They play on CRTs, brother.
Dang, dude, that is old school.
Yep.
Well, those old response times, right? I mean, I know there was back in the day.
Yeah, the idea is CRT has zero latency, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, people would haul in their, flat screen TVs, and then the old school guys that cared about latency, and they'd bring in their
rocking their CRT, dude.
Old TV, weighed 50 pounds.
God, I don't remember. I hate doing LANs of those back in the day. My back hurt so much in those things.
Yeah,
but I remember having in the back of my truck, and so the times I get lazy, I'd put against the tailgate, which we know that's a bad idea for a truck because it goes when you hit the brakes. But that screen never broke, and it went. I had one from 2001 all the way up till 2007ish from Halo 1, 2, and 3, and it was a champ. I finally ended up leaving it at a tournament I had with OK Gamers in 2008 because I was talking to a chick at the time, and it was either take that home with me because I only had a car, or take the chick. I was like, well, TV, you're staying here.
Sorry, TV.
Yeah, priorities, man.
You got demoted.
I think we'd all trade. We'd make that trade.
Yeah,
but no, it's a big deal. There's a lot of gamers that still play on CRTs, monitors, and TVs just because of the latency. Because it's instant, right? It's as your console is outputting the video signal, it's drawing it because it's all analog stuff. So you don't have that delay of okay, I'm gonna put a frame out and the TV's gonna get the frame, and the TV's gonna do some math and then draw the frame, right? It's just as it's coming out of your console, it's drawn on the screen.
Yeah, the thing too about Halo 1 that a lot of people don't understand is the bullet registration is actually a 3D mapping on the original like Halo 1. So what we play now on MCC on Master Chief Collection or on computer, it's the new engine update. But old school stuff, yeah, it's so if you don't hit your shots, you're gonna miss. So you have to be point on. That's why we also play on the old school boxes, the NCE or the HCE playlist, and then like I said, the boop tubes, just because of the registration, like you mentioned, because it has to be on point or else you're just gonna screw yourself.
Right. Well, and you're all local too, so you don't have lag, right? You don't have to worry about lag
Yep,
and
it's
everything because you're
no
all
lag. It's all one giant LAN. This is us slapping the routers together, putting LAN cords in there. The only thing that's on internet is the stream. And then as far as how we get the old school boxes, we have pretty much old school splitters that have the RJ, I think 45 and 23 jacks. Well, which one is it that has Cat 5 and Cat 6? Is it RJ45?
45, yeah, 20, whatever is the phone line connection.
Phone line, yeah. Yeah, so it's the RJ45s
So
that we have, and
45s
there's
are-
some kind of weird
yeah.
splitter thing that goes through the RCA like connection, the red, white, and yellow, and I don't know how the hell they do it, but it's streamable.
The fun fact for
So-
you, it's actually called a scan converter. So your console output scan lines is what it's called. Each line that's outputting is drawn on the screen, right? Is a line. So it's called a scan line because it's scanning. It's literally there's a dot that's an electron ray that draws across the screen. It's called a scan line. So they're called scan converters. Whenever you convert that old analog, yellow, white, red to digital, called scan converters.
Nice.
So now we literally call everything a scan converter that like splits off signal and brings it into something else. It's a scan converter. So just fun
That's
fact
awesome.
for you. That terminology
That's
stuck
awesome.
around, but anyway, yeah, it's called a scan converter that takes those scan lines and turn them into something digital.
Nice. Yeah, the cool thing too about what we do, so even like back in the day whenever Halo first came around, there's the old pros, which is Final Boss, which Evan might know who Final Boss is from watching Halo. Do you remember who they are?
No.
It had the Ogre twins, Ogre 1, Ogre 2. Remember those guys?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they came out a long time ago, but of course one of them moved to Australia, one of them moved somewhere else. But they'll tune in and watch stuff. So a bunch of the pros that can't come, they get in the chat and have fun with us. I remember last year I was a casting on there, and some people in the chat, they see me like, well, hey, how much do you bench? I said, I don't know, how much is your mom? And the Ogre twins were like, so it's Halo. It's always good trash talk on there.
Right.
I loved it.
That's what you're famous for, huh? Is your trolling
That's
and
right.
trash talk.
That's true. What's your mom
The
wearing?
Discord knows. The Discord knows. We'll get into our next topic, I guess. So LAN centers, or I don't even know what another term would be. Internet cafe, I guess, is kind of one of them. But LAN centers, they got your gaming stations, whether it's Xbox or PS4 or PlayStation, and PCs. They have a little station set up for you. You pay a little bit of money and you get X amount of time or an all-day pass, that kind of stuff. And then they host tournaments like, maybe on weeknights and then also on weekends. And in my personal opinion, I don't think that they're going to be all that great. Like, there might be one or two in well-populated areas, but they seem to be popping up all over the place. I'm seeing all this stuff on, these gaming groups saying like, oh, I'm building this LAN center in this place. I'm like, 3 people already said they're building one there. Like, why are we all building this?
Right.
And I don't know. I just don't understand the business model all that well. Like why they're doing it, because how many gamers are going to be going to these LAN centers Monday through Friday, putting in $10 and playing for 2 hours when they can play at home? They're paying $10 to be on Xbox already, or they're free on Discord, and like not just hang out with their friends that way instead of going to a LAN center. Like, I don't see how that's sellable. I don't know what's your guys' opinions. I don't know. Chance, you want to start, or Johnny?
I'll let Chance go.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe kind of a helpful thing to talk about other countries. So I think LAN centers, internet cafes, that type of thing is a bigger deal in most other countries. And so it hasn't ever really been a big deal here in the U.S. And I don't know if it's partially due to the fact of like, because maybe we have more money, or I don't know what the deal is. Maybe it's kind of our culture maybe, but we typically have our consoles at our house. And so we play at our house and not have to have, not have to go down the street to an internet cafe or something to go Maybe it's just internet infrastructure. I don't know. But it maybe a cultural thing. Like I don't know what the actual thing is, but I feel like they're a big deal in a lot of other countries. You'll see a lot of them, and people will actually go and like hang out. Kind of like we do here, go hang out, but go hang out and play video games. And I mean, we may get there too. It may be like became like a hangout thing. You go hang out with your friends and all get together there instead of getting together at somebody's house. Because if you're there, you all get a console. You can all get pretty well set up with different stuff. If you're at a house, it's a little harder to play on. Especially if you want, everybody wants their own TV and everybody wants their own console and stuff. It's a little harder to do at houses. So it may be a thing going forward. We'll kind of see, but yeah, no, it's interesting to see they're popping up. And no, I'm kind of with you, Evan. I don't know that I see a big trend going towards it, but I mean, I'm not super involved in esports, so maybe a trend going towards it. But it will be interesting to see if we actually do make a move over to playing more at LAN centers or internet cafes versus hanging out at people's houses and stuff and playing, just getting sweaty at houses.
The thing that will separate most of them is how they utilize it, because like you said, why do I want to come to a cyber cafe if I can already do it at home? So you're going to need esports events in there. And now with the movement between colleges and high schools, you can use it as training grounds for places that don't have their own training grounds. Now, of course, eventually people might, like say a high school or college, like for instance OCU, they might build their own so they don't have to worry about traveling from A to B. So there's pros and cons of how that goes. Even Mark Cuban said a long time ago that the United States is not ready for like Singapore, Europe, et cetera, cyber cafes, because like you said, we might have more money, et cetera, here to have our own consoles at home compared to them where they don't. So yeah, they're going to go. And I mean, you've seen those pictures of the kids in Singapore when it's like flooding and they're sitting there playing Counter-Strike on top of a bar stool, that with the water all around, they didn't care. So there's that aspect, but in order for it to grow, they're going to have to do esports tournaments inside. You're going to have to, like I said, use it for other things. That's like birthday parties, training. And the other important factor is sell actual food and maybe make a restaurant or a bar out of it as well, because now you're attracting all the different cultures, like just not the gamers. Yeah.
Right. More of a let's go grab a couple beers and play some video games versus let's just go like, I don't know, playing a random tournament type thing.
Right. Well, think of if they did it in a Buffalo Wild Wings style, to where now you're not just doing for video games. If you want to go now, you can have a watch party for sports or watch a Twitch watch party. So there's all the different factors. If you add those extra things in there, that's like the folks up at Rewind from what we talked about. They own like the Hideaway franchise, and they want to do a restaurant. They want to do food. They want to do a little bit of everything. So it might turn out great. We'll just have to test the waters and see.
Right, and I guess if you're running a tournament in there, right, your part of your watch party could be just watching the tournament that's going on, right? If you got some casters or something that are hanging out and talking about it stuff, that could be part of it too. Is everybody's hanging out, watching, drinking a couple beers and grabbing some food.
Yeah, I mean that's what's going to separate it.
Yeah, and maybe the business model of just a LAN center is not going to be successful, but the hangout center is the more path that they should go. Because now you have more revenue from other things, which is that considered a LAN center? What's that event? What event do we have, Johnny, at the mall at Penn Square?
The Call of Duty one?
Yeah. There's a gunfight in LAN, press play games. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
They were in the mall. And I don't think they're in the mall anymore. I think, didn't you say they moved out? Or
they moved out, and they're opening up their own area downtown Oklahoma City, like off 8th Street, to where it's going to be, like I mentioned, restaurant, bar, and esports combined. So it's going to have a lot of different factors into it.
Well, I think that that mall business model is almost perfect because, I mean, I think they were a little overkill on how much they had. But because they had, 30 consoles, 30 TVs.
That's the other factor is TVs. If you want the sweaties, you don't want to play on TVs. You know that already.
Yeah, you want those low, kind of like what we talked earlier at the CRTs. Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
low response time monitors, but it's perfect for birthday parties or parents just dropping their kids off and saying, "Here's $20." Yeah, basically watch my kid. And their kids playing video games like they would at home. Now, obviously, there's some other issues with like buying skins and stuff, which they ran into while we were there at that event. But
right,
that's like I feel like that's just like a perfect like I'm gonna drop my kid off. Like you have that constant traffic versus the other like LAN center, you're gonna have to advertise and all this stuff of like all those other issues of, well, I'm a LAN center, now what? Nobody showed up. I have a call once a week.
Right.
But
imagine if they combine a LAN center with like Tilt, where you actually have arcade games now you can play. So now you're bringing in more aspects behind it instead of just esports. If you cater to everybody, you're going to be popping. If you cater to just one or the other, you're going to lose something somewhere.
Right. That's true. You could put like an arcade section, get some Pac-Man games going, Galaga, Donkey Kong, that type of stuff rocking in the back too.
Cater to the old.
I mean, I don't think those will be I don't think that's going to like drive people, like bring everybody in. But I mean, that does add a different demographic. But I mean, as a LAN center, what's your main stream of revenue? Say you're just a LAN center. I mean, what events? You're going to have to run tournaments?
Well, your main stream of revenue, if you're just LAN center, is like you got to keep the consoles occupied.
Pardon my French, but yeah, a shit ton of events. That's what you're going to need.
You got to keep the consoles occupied at that point, all right? If you're just LAN center, the consoles have to be, like somebody has to be playing on the console, whether it's through tournaments or just people coming in, like hanging out, that type of stuff. But you got to keep those consoles occupied. If you start selling food or if you start doing other stuff, right, you can bring in money elsewhere.
I've seen about 8 or 9 LAN centers here in Oklahoma go under, and one of them was successful, but he ended up having to move because of college, and which is totally understandable. But he did everything from casuals to sweaties to etc. But most of them, like you said, back in the day, Xbox Live wasn't really much of a thing. It was, but not everybody had. Like I didn't have it because where I lived at, so of course I'd have to go to a LAN center to play. But now everybody and their dog has it, so it's different. But the ones that were the fly by nights, like, oh, I love video games. They'd get the 50-inch TVs, and then they would make it to where they didn't even know what tournaments. This guy was like, yeah, we could do a WWF tournament and a Minecraft tournament, like when it first came out. I'm like, hey, you're gonna do a WWF, bro? Yeah, what?
You're gonna do a Minecraft tournament? Okay.
It's possible now, but back then, like, you couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
You could build the fastest brick wall or house, I guess. I don't know.
Their thing was, well, I love video games. I could do something with it. I'm like, I'm sure you could, but this ain't gonna work for you, brother.
Yeah. One thing that was the thing for a little while was the like portable, like the trailers they had gaming systems in them, right? Like they come set up a birthday party. They had gaming trailers. Forget what it was called.
They still do that a little bit. Anyway.
So yeah, I feel like that was a bigger thing back a little while ago. Yeah, maybe. But I feel like that's kind of dried up a little bit. I haven't heard near as much about those like gaming companies that drive a trailer and set up at your house or whatever.
Well, I know up in Tulsa they have theirs going on, same as in the Glenpool area. Because whenever we do the high school ones for the Glenpool, they usually have a gaming bus that comes out there. But of course, with COVID, it's kind of hard to do. But for them, you can't really do tournaments. It's more or less, hey, here's a Nintendo Switch. Let's play Mario Party, or here's Xbox. Let's play just a couple things.
Everybody's hanging out, having fun, type thing. Yeah, and I guess
that's
on the. I guess everything's gonna have internet now, so I guess they just rock off a I don't know, sort of hotspot or something.
They roll
I asked myself, I was like,
cable.
Yeah,
I was like, how are you getting internet? It's hotspot.
Yeah. I guess if you're at a house, maybe you could talk them into plugging it in at whatever their internet is, but you probably have to rock hotspots most of the time.
Well, here's the thing that is going to possibly help them now is Tesla's Starlink. If it's as good as it says, that's a satellite one, and there's the pings down to 13 compared to the 500 it would be on when you play. That can actually possibly help these mobile gaming companies. But are they going to want to pay the 70 to whatever it might be a month compared to at home when you pay 60 for a gig? Oh,
I guarantee they'll pay for it because I'm sure they're paying out the wazoo for their freaking hotspot. They're paying an arm and
30 gigabytes.
I guarantee you, whatever they.
How much is 30 gigabytes?
I don't know. Depends on what company you're with. But and I'm sure whatever they're paying for their hotspot, like they're gonna be super happy to pay for the Starlink stuff. But it will be interesting. Starlink's interesting. I kind of looked into it a little bit. They haven't released a ton of stuff, but they have started beta testing on the northern United States and southern Canada area. Right now, it's not portable. So they don't have a portable solution. And so we'll see if that may just be just because like right now they're focusing on trying to get the beta stuff done and just get something working. But if they can get ping times down, I think they were saying they're rocking 40 to 60 milliseconds ping right now. They said they were hoping to get it down in the 20s soon, and then maybe lower than 20s. But I mean, even the 20s is not bad. I mean, shoot, cable
No.
internet ping can be 20s, 30s. So like 20s
Shit,
is pretty
my
good.
ping I hear 78.
Yeah. So like
Having
sounds
that would
pretty
be
good. So anyway,
fantastic.
we'll see what they can make happen. And I haven't really dug into it a lot, but it's just if they can build it, it'll be crazy. But one thing, and I don't know about the technical side of things, like I haven't dug into it enough to really understand the whole technical side, but I kind of understand at a high level of like they said their constellation's bigger than any other constellation in the sky right now of satellite constellations, but they only cover like a quarter of the globe right now, or that's like even less than a quarter of the globe. So like the constellation's huge, but they don't cover very much yet. So like I'm wondering, are they going to start tripping over themselves whenever they get enough satellites to actually cover the world? Like, are they going to be tripping over themselves with satellites? All right, because like there's I don't know, I've read stuff about before of like satellites having issues like running into other space debris or other satellites that are already in orbit right now, and maybe it's because they're a low Earth orbit. Maybe there's not near as much clutter and satellite traffic down there. But that's kind of interesting. Is to try, like, are they going to have a traffic jam up there in space with all the Musk satellites? We're
Right,
trying to
everything just
launch
hit each other. It's like, well, my internet's down. How long is it
he's
going to
just trying
take?
to launch
About
a
2 or 3
rocket
weeks to
go
get up there.
Mars. He's gonna try to launch a rocket to go to Mars. Like, all right, let me move my Starlink constellation satellites out of the way, so I can make a hole big enough for my rocket to go through, so we can go to
Right.
Mars.
Did you reset your router? No, because it's in the freaking orbit up there. What do you want me to do here?
Yeah, it sounds like fun troubleshooting. But the more interesting thing is, so right now they have to come back down to Earth for a lot of stuff. But like, at what point are we just gonna start putting servers on the satellites, and the servers you're hitting are going to be flying around in the satellites? So like, instead of, if his stuff gets big enough, we're just like part of the satellite's going to be his servers to host whatever the heck you want to host. And so instead of just having to go up and come back down, you just host it on the satellite. And so when you get
I'm
to that
surprised
point,
we
like
haven't
your
put Wi-Fi on the moon yet.
right?
That's what I'm
So
surprised.
whenever
whenever we see it.
right. So anyways, that's an interesting thing is it when he's going to get big enough to make sense to actually put, and maybe he's already thinking about it, is hosting stuff in up there, doing caches and maybe even like some game hosting and stuff. I mean, you're not going to get like major computing power, but like you could fly some computers up there with those satellites, and host some basic stuff and not have to come back, make the trip back down to get back to our current infrastructure.
Well, I mean, this is going to sound really dumb, but space is cold, right? So
space is pretty cold. However, it's also hard to conduct energy away from things because it's there's not much air. So like conduction is hard as well. But space is pretty cold, so it pretty much overrides the conduction issue just because of how cold it is. But it also gets very hot too because of the sun, right? So when you're in the sun's on you, it's hot. When the sun's not on you, it's cold. And I don't know exactly where his satellites land. They may be far enough in the atmosphere of the Earth that it may be a lot more stable. But that's definitely an issue. Like I know on the moon, when there's no atmosphere, right? If you're in the sun, it's like hundreds of degrees, and then if you're in the shade, it's negative hundreds of degrees. So
it's like being in Arizona in the desert at nightime.
Basically, it's like Arizona daytime versus nighttime.
It's extreme.
Stinking hot versus stinking cold.
Well, I mean, there was that. Was it Microsoft put that server in the water, and they left it for was it a couple of years?
Is that what they pulled out of the water?
5, 6 years. Yeah, they had a test data center down that they threw underneath the ocean.
And it was
I wonder what they pulled up and they were spraying off.
Makes sense.
They had less issues with that than they did with a normal data center, I think is what they were saying. Because
they put it down the freaking water and they pumped it full of nitrogen or some sort of inert gas. So there was no corrosion. They had no issues. Like it was in a somewhat of a vacuum with nitrogen gas, so there's no oxygen to corrode, and that you can conduct heat to the ocean, so you keep it super cool. The under the ocean's 40-something degrees probably.
And you don't have technicians in there accidentally pulling out the wrong card or tripping on the cables. And
you also have to think about it's going down there and you can't go work on it. The second you deploy it, there's no more working on it. So you got to plan ahead a little bit.
Let's hope it works for 5 years.
They had a pretty good success. Like I say, part of it's due to the fact they can keep stuff super cold, and the other part was due to the fact they can suck out all the oxygen and everything's sitting in nitrogen.
Maybe that's what the move is. Just we're going to pressurize every data center with nitrogen. This sounds expensive.
Yeah. Also kind of hard to work on
YOLO.
stuff.
YOLO.
Yeah, very hard.
But yeah, I mean, it works for some stuff, and like I could definitely see us putting stuff down there and like becoming a bigger thing in the future. Because your biggest issues with data centers is your heat, and your heat, and your heat. So power is important too, because you got to power the thing. But like heat's a big deal, and so a lot of times when they're planning ahead, like trying to plan for data centers, like a big chunk of the power usage is just to get this to cool off the servers. So like if you can reduce your power requirements for cooling, you can significantly reduce your power requirements overall and make a more efficient data center. So like whenever they're planning out data centers, they do like big studies of like, okay, historically over the last 50 years, like the average temperature is this, and then the average humidity is this, and they'll do all the math and figure out if it makes sense for data center. Because the back in the 80s and 90s, we just put huge air conditioners on everything and said, hey, we can run a data center. And then now we're like, well, we should be a little smarter and not burn as much energy cooling. And so they do a lot more studies of like, can we do passive cooling, or can we do some sort of water-based cooling to get a lot of it down, and then maybe a few days a year burn air conditioning. But because air conditioning is pretty expensive to run, so anyway, heat is a big issue in data centers.
It's a big issue at tournaments.
Yeah, it's a big issue anywhere you're drawing a ton of power, but like I said, data centers is a big one. Because I mean, data centers, you're talking about megawatts of power.
What is it? I know DreamHack. I was talking with some of the building spec, people that work there. I was like, "What's the temperature in here?" He's like, "Oh, we have the temperatures down to about 55, but of course it doesn't feel like it because of everything that's going on. It's usually a constant 65, 70, but there's a reason why they crank it down so much because of all the bodies and the electronic." Yeah. Because if you're in there and there's nobody in there, you better have a hoodie on because you're going to be freezing your ass off. Right. That's why we wear these damn things.
I'm happy for winter because our house, we could just open the window now instead of running the AC. With 8 computers going. What else? 7 Xboxes. 2 people. Lights going. Like
your own personal sauna.
Yeah. But I guess. What else do we want to talk about, fellas? Do we have any more points about data centers or LAN centers, I guess? The centers talk.
I mean, honestly, like I said, they just got to do their marketing correctly and, like I said, fill the machines. That's what's going to bring them. If that's all you have is machines, you got to put asses in seats. And if you have other things, well, then the asses and seats will get filled by the other things coming in.
Well, these LAN centers, they'll probably open up a lot more jobs for TOs, right? I would think.
It depends if they hire within or if they have such TOs like, say, me or us come in and we train people like that. We could do it, and then for us, we're obsolete to that area unless we were to run our own event and work with them. But then again, their TO might not have the same background and knowledge as we do, so he thinks he's good and he does one thing, and then it craps the bed, and we're back again.
It could even be like they have some sort of guy that like runs tournaments internally, and then when they run big stuff, they contract it out. Like he takes care of normal day-to-day stuff, and then or she or whoever it was takes care of day-to-day stuff, and then when they run bigger stuff, they get contractors in there to run.
That's how Arlington Esports is. They have their own in-house guys. They'll do their own little practice facility for the high schools and colleges. But whenever it comes to the big stuff, like I said, I did the Madden Open, and then I did the Battle for Texas Overwatch College Open. And so, they brought me in to be main stage and handle all that. Yeah. So it happens. It happens.
Yeah, which is probably going to be a thing. I mean, like, it makes sense, right? If you can handle most of your stuff internally, and like the same guy that does TOing can like help out with consoles and like keep stuff, like maintain stuff and some of that type of work too. So like it makes sense to have somebody internally, and then for your stuff where you need more manpower, maybe you need 5 or 6 people, just contract it out, or when you run around something big, just contract it, because you don't need that. You don't need those 6 people full time, but every couple of months you need somebody, 6 people to run big production or run a big tournament or something, and just contract it.
Well, if you're a bar, go ahead, Johnny.
No, you're right. I was going to say, that's the reason why they bring us out. I mean, it's like DreamHack. They fly us out, feed us hotel for 5 days because, they can do it, but who wants to mess with 210 consoles and then within 2 days and then tear everything down in about 4 hours by the time the show ends and get out of there?
Just hire a contractor, move on with your life.
Yeah. That's all we are, freaking contractors, basically.
Just hire a contractor.
I was gonna say if
It
your
makes
main
all your
revenue,
problems go away.
if your main revenue stream isn't through, say you're a bar, like you're mainly a bar and a restaurant, but you do esports stuff on the side, that's where your main contract stuff's going to come from. Because like you're not going to, I mean, I guess you could train a bartender or a waitress or waiter to do it, but like they're not going to be, I wouldn't think that they're running enough tournaments or TO work to get good at it. Because if your main, like I'm saying, if your main revenue stream is from your restaurant or bar side.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a cost benefit analysis, right? I'm like, contractors are expensive. So like, if you can have somebody in house that's like, oh, your job is half bartending, half running tournaments, it's cheaper, right? If you can do a good enough job, like it doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's good enough, that cost benefit analysis. If you could bring a contractor in there all the time, like contractors are expensive, so you just got to do it. If like, can we have somebody in house do it well enough most of the time, and then contract it out when we need that? We need either somebody do it better or more manpower, that type of thing.
Well, we all know anybody can tell someone, hey, you're going to go play this person. But once the network messes up, or let's say something breaks, that's whenever the fires happen. And that's when you see them like, oh, I can't do this. I need help. So that's what separates. If it's an easy ride, yeah, anybody can do it. But once that one little fire happens, the whole world's burning down for you.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's when it's going, when everything's easy and just normal stuff, like everybody can handle that. But you get into some of the fun stuff, and that's where separate all the people that know what's going on.
Especially when production's involved. That fire kills everything in production.
Yeah, it's like you separate people that know what's going on versus the people that don't, basically, is what it boils down to. Is like, and people that are good at it, right? Some people are just not cut out to handle super high stress stuff. Like, it's just a thing.
It happens. What were you going to say, though, Evan? You were going to say something, and then we cut you off there a little bit.
No. I was going to say something about somebody said they could run events and then didn't do it right, but I don't want to talk about that. I mean, anybody can say, well, I can TO, that's easy. And then they get to even just calling matches or like being organized. They don't know what's going on. Like, I mean, I remember my first one, and like luckily Johnny was there, so like I was just like following what he was doing. But it's
even I have stressful times. I've done it for a long time. There's been plenty of fires that I'm like, I need help with this.
Yeah, I mean, everything's a learning curve. You just got to figure it out and learn. I mean, like I say, I don't know. You don't know how to do anything when you're freaking born. So everything, you got to learn everything. It's all about learning and figuring it out.
Right. What's like when we go to DreamHack normally? So you kind of get in positions depending on your veterancy of how long you've been there or how long you've been in the system doing TO stuff. And so I'm like second or third in command, I guess you could say, at DreamHack. And even though I've only been with them for a year now, but there's two guys that are main stage. There's two that's in the featured, which is also going to be on stream. And then there's the rest of them, the other 4 to 6 are in the pit, and usually that means one station. There's 16 stations in the pit, and each admin will have their own, or they'll have 2 because of the numbers. And usually I have about 6 to 8 because of how much I can go back and forth, and then usually have to settle somebody else's. But that's how it works. If a fire goes and you have a rookie, then you better make sure you have some experience out there, or else it's not gonna go as planned.
Right.
Well, it's like, I thought my team was called and I played. What happens?
No.
But I don't think I have anything else, fellas. Any hot takes about LAN centers or data centers?
Besides, like I said, that Rewind in Tulsa, there's the bar. I think it's called Cube 3 is the one that the press play was going to open up. I mentioned. I know we did our Smash Bros event at the Dabco Center, and then the bar owners that we talked to, they want to start operating Call of Duty events inside their stuff. I was going to talk to him this week, but he got busy, so we talked about talking when I come back from Tampa. The other part about the TO stuff, me and you had mentioned, is that I applied for the Halo Championship Series grassroots program to try to bring extra stuff here to Oklahoma. So I know they were having system issues, and I reached out to Tashi, which is the head 343 guy, and he's like, "Yeah, we got your application." So I'm in the system, so we'll just have to see what happens now.
Yeah, I mean, good luck. Best of wishes in that aspect. I guess my hot take for LAN centers is obviously if you narrow your scope, then you're not going to be successful. You narrow it too much, you're going to die. So,
Right.
I mean, that's just a business thing. But anyways, if nobody else has anything, I'll wrap it up. And thank you guys so much. This has been Click Gaming and our 7th podcast. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah. I'll be on a beach next time. Bye.